not externally, but internally we do. Internally, we do have the ability to regenerate after we have experienced trauma. The only thing is that that regeneration does not happen without intentionality. That means that you're not going to just wake up one day and be better.
Right.
That means that you can go to church every Sunday and still be bitter and broken and upset, because until we are intentional about addressing the areas where we have experienced disappointment and trauma, we will stay the broken little girls who got pregnant at 13.
Jesus.
Who got molested as a child, who got abandoned. If we are not intentional about saying something broke me, something wounded me, but I don't want to stay where pain left me, then we can grow as much as we want to and we can achieve as much as we want to, but we will still have that brokenness down on the inside of us. But God, in his gracious wisdom, decided that he wanted to create a path for us to get back to him in spite of the trauma that we have experienced. He says, I want you to still be whole. I want you to have life and to have it more abundantly. And so he devises a plan for us to get back to what he had in mind when he formed us in the garden. That's why I love Eve so much, because in Genesis 3:15, when God is giving the curse to the serpent, he says, I'm going to put enmity between you and the woman. You and the woman are going to have beef. And I'm going to put enmity between you and the woman, and your seed, the seed of the serpent, is going to bruise her heel, but her seed is going to bruise your head. So he's saying to the serpent in this moment where Eve probably feels the most shame and the most pain that she has ever felt before, that even though she is in this broken place, when it's all said and done, you got to look out for that woman. I'm going to put enmity between you and the woman. That enmity, that war, means that you may have gotten a lick in on her right now, but when she finally wakes up and realizes who she is, and that she took that licking and kept on ticking, that it didn't take her out, that divorce didn't ruin who she was, that job loss didn't take her joy and her confidence, then you better look out for the woman, because that two-way street of enmity is going to be opened up again. God tells the serpent, your greatest threat is not that you are cursed more than all the cattle and that you're slurping around on your belly. That's not your biggest threat. Your biggest threat is the woman. I'm going to put enmity between you and the woman. You and the woman will always be at war. I believe that when a woman is under attack, that it attacks her whole family and her community, because when a woman knows who she is, she can build the family and she can build the community. So the enemy is always going to be after the woman because of what the woman can produce. And that's why God says in this text that I'm going to give the woman seed. I'm going to give the woman something to produce that's going to bruise your head. That's a word for somebody.
Yes, Lord.
That God didn't just give you an idea, that he gave you seed. That I didn't just give you that marriage is seed. And it's not just any old seed, it's the kind of seed that can bruise the head of the enemy. So while you're praying to break the generational curse, I just wanted you to know that you already have the seed that you need to break the curse that is in front of you. That's somebody's word, and I think we need to take a minute and receive it. Sometimes we know that we're supposed to break the generational curse, but we don't believe that we have what it takes. I hear God saying, I don't know who you are, that you already have the seed that you need to break the generational curse that you see. I hear God saying the only reason that you even see it as a generational curse is because I opened your eyes when everyone else was blind to it, because I've given you the weight of glory to break that thing. I gave you the weight to see it as a problem that we just sweep things under the rug in this family. You're the one who sees things as the curse that they are, because God has called you to break it and to bring wholeness, real wholeness, and relationship with God back to your family. You are the one. You're the one who's going to break it. And that's why it bothers you when it doesn't bother anyone else. And that's why it keeps you awake at night when everyone else is sleeping. Because there's something down on the inside of me that happens to believe that we can do better than this. That we can be better women than this. We can be a better community than this. I believe the government can do better than this. Everyone else can move about their life, but I will not move until the criminal change our community. God placed this seed down on the inside of you. And he says you are the only woman who can do it. And that's why you're the only one who sees it. So you can't expect other people to see the curse that God has called you to break. God gives a promise to Eve, and the promise is connected to her seed. And I love Eve because Eve recognizes that that promise is connected to her seed, and so what she does is she starts producing seed. She may have got kicked out of the garden. It may have changed her life, that trauma, but God says there's still a promise connected to your seed. You see, some of us experience trauma and we stop producing because of the trauma, but God says I still have a promise connected to your seed. And so Eve continues, she continues down this path of producing the seed. And she gives birth to Cain and Abel, because God said your seed is going to bruise the head of the serpent. So she starts producing. But she has Cain and Abel, and that didn't work out like the way God said it was going. God said that my seed, and then these seeds, they seeds not being what the seed God said I was going to see, what he said I had seen. Okay. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where your seed doesn't look like what God said. My seed doesn't look like what God said. God, how am I going to break it when my seed doesn't look like what you said? And Eve makes the courageous decision to keep producing in spite of the disappointment she experienced. You see, her seed doesn't end with Cain and Abel. She produces again. When you read in Genesis 4, she gives birth to Seth, and Seth is the generation that begins to call upon the name of the Lord. You know what that said to me? That there is power in throwing another seed at it. There is power in not letting the disappointment you experience in one phase of your life to define you for the rest of your life. Yeah. Sometimes the greatest thing you can do with the enemy is to just keep throwing seed. I'm going to keep throwing seed until I see what God said. I'm going to keep throwing seed until I see, because God is not a man that he should lie. And he did not speak a word over my life for me to turn around and to pretend like he never said it at all. There is something powerful about a woman who knows how to throw another seed at things. A woman who recognizes that failure and disappointment is a part of the course, but victory has already been assigned to my name. So it may have not worked 5 years ago, but that don't have nothing to do with what God can do October of 2019. I don't let my past define what's coming next for me. I'm about to throw another seed at my life. I'm about to throw another seed at my healing. I'm about to throw another seed at this business. Somebody's been trying to write the same book for 3 years. I hear God saying, throw another seed at that thing. Open up your laptop and I dare you to start typing. Somebody started business after business and it didn't become what they thought. I hear God saying, just keep throwing another seed at that thing. Your promise is connected to your seed. So you got to be in a situation that makes a demand on your seed. Those experiences that seem too tough for you to overcome, it's really just making a demand on your seed. There's a seed God placed down on the inside of you, and that's why you have to overcome nerves and anxiety and fear, because at the end of the day, there's something that God is making a demand on that he placed down on the inside of you. And Eve is my homegirl because not only does she throw another seed at it, but I realized that this scripture, Genesis 3:15, which is the foundation of Woman Evolved, she doesn't actually get to see the seed that will bruise the head of the serpent. Genesis 3:15 is a foreshadowing of Jesus Christ. But I believe that what Eve knew was that it really wasn't about the outcome. It was really about whether or not she could set it in motion. You see, sometimes the enemy will make you believe that just because you may not see the outcome, that what you did didn't matter. But I hear God saying that you can rest at night when you know that you set it in motion. That I may have not seen the victory today, but I did something today that set victory in motion. There are some things that you can do today that makes victory undeniable. I lifted my hands in worship in the midst of disappointment because I'm trying to set something in motion. I came to Kansas City, I'm not going to lie to you, I came to Kansas City, Missouri because I wanted to set something in motion down on the inside of you. And I'm one of those people who believe that I only need one or two people to set something in motion, because I'm one of those people who believe that one can chase 1,000 and two can chase 10,000. And if I messed around and got 10 of you who decided that I'm not going to let the enemy keep taking territory in my neighborhood, he can keep taking territory in my house, he cannot have any more real estate in my mind. I came to set something in motion in Kansas City. I came to make sure that hell knew that there are some wild women in Missouri who have decided that I will get in the car and drive to get a word from God, because I got some work to do on behalf of the kingdom, and nobody else can do it but me. I'm setting something in motion so my daughter doesn't have to fight the same giant over and over and over and over and over and over again. I came to set something in motion. Because I'm going to do something with these scars and these wounds. I'm going to do something with this heartbreak. I'm going to do something with this depression. Nobody else is going to have to fight this same devil that I fought. I brought my hips here on the bus to Kansas City because I got beef with the enemy. And I only need a couple of us to get back in position. I only need a couple of us. This work don't have to be for everybody. I can go toe to toe with one woman. You hold down Missouri, I hold down LA. You hold down Baltimore, I hold down LA. You can't have my mind. You can't have my child. We going to therapy at the church because I'm trying to set something in motion. I'm going back to school and working because I'm trying to set something. You're still here because there's something you can set in motion. That's why it's you that's in the room. That's why you lived when everyone else couldn't make it. That's why you found a way back when everyone else got off. Because God said, I'm going to ordain you to go back and get everybody who couldn't be in this room, to let them know there's still hope for girls like us. There's still promises. Hell can't mess with a woman who knows how to set something in motion. I don't have to see the end. I just have to know that I did something today that made tomorrow better for my daughter coming behind me. I don't have to be the billionaire, but I set something in motion that let me know my grandchildren aren't going to have to struggle the way that I struggle. Eve started producing seed because God said my seed would bruise the head of the serpent. So I gotta produce. I gotta get out this depression. I gotta get out this funk. I gotta get out this toxic relationship. I gotta do better than this. I gotta become one with God so we can produce something. I gotta let go of my fears and my anxieties and my insecurities because I gotta set something in motion. This thing is bigger than me. There's a generation depending on me. And everything that God wants to see happen in this city It's going to happen through you. No one else is going to do it. It's going to happen through you. Everything else that God wants to see happen in that nonprofit world, in that corporate world, in ministry, is going to happen through you. Those books can only be written by you. Those songs can only be sung by you. And you have to have the courage to set it in motion. But what happens to so many of us is exactly what happens to this woman in Revelation. Somewhere along the way, we lose our seed.
Woo. Come on.
It's not that I don't want to set it in motion. I just feel like I lost my seed. Like I only had this window of opportunity, and now it's gone. And so now I just walk around existing, barely surviving because I lost my seed. I had to bury that child. I had to say goodbye to that parent. I had to move back after all this struggle. I lost my seed. I lost my fight. I lost my hope and my faith. I don't know if anybody in this room knows what it's like to feel like I lost my seed. I lost my seed. I thought I had something, but I don't feel like I have it anymore. This woman in Revelation, she's lost her seed. And the crazy thing about this woman losing her seed is that God pulled her seed up. You got to read the whole text. If we had time, we could have like a real good Bible study, but you just have to take my word for it. This woman has seed. She produces her seed, and God pulls up her seed. But he leaves the woman down here on the earth. I thought to myself, God, why is it that you left the woman down here in the earth without any seed? Why did you leave the woman down here on the earth just trying to make it from paycheck to paycheck, trying to find her next opportunity? God, why is it that you didn't pull her up the way that you pulled up her seed? And as I was studying, I heard God say, Sarah, I took her seed, but the woman is soil. And if the woman ever understood that she was soil, she would understand that I could give her another seed, that I could still give her something that she can produce. But when you don't know that you're soil, you don't uproot the thoughts that contaminate your soil and therefore would contaminate your soil. But I came here praying that God would turn me into a master gardener because I want to get your soil ready. I feel that prophetically for somebody, that God is about to throw another seed your direction. There's another opportunity coming your way. And it's time for you to start getting your soil together now so that when God places that seed back in your life, it can thrive and flourish. I want to prophesy in this room tonight that you are not going to have to say goodbye to another seed. That the next opportunity that God throws your way, that you're going to water it and take care of it until it produces fruit that feeds your family for generation after generation. I don't know who you are, but that last situation is not the end of you. God says that I'm about to throw something else your direction. And I hear God saying, if I could borrow from my Father, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. It's going to be bigger this time. It's going to be better this time. There's not going to be any trauma connected to it. I hear God saying you're not going to have to put yourself on clearance to lay hold of it. That the opportunity is going to pay full price. The opportunity is going to know exactly who you are. The opportunity is going to know exactly what you carry. The opportunity is going to say, I've been waiting on a woman like you who understood what she was walking in. You gotta get your soil ready. You gotta get your heart back.
Jesus.
You gotta get your peace back. Somebody may have to go to therapy. Somebody may need to start produce a business. Baby, I'm soil. You believe your dream, I'll give you a dynasty. Baby, I'm soil. You gotta be careful who you let live in you. Because baby, you're soil. If you let the wrong thing get in you, the wrong thing will grow. But if you let that God thing get in you, I'm crazy enough to believe that demons would tremble if you figure out who you are. That hell would get nervous. That's why I forgave. Because I'm soil. That's why I walked away. Because I'm soil. That's why I felt that I was soil. So I had to walk away because I was let too many things live in me. And I had to protect the soil. I gotta protect the ground that I'm gonna let you live in. When the dragon comes down to persecute the woman is not in position. Woman is not where God assigned for her to be. I know that because it says in the text that she starts to run towards the place that God has for her. I'm going to read this to you very quickly. It says that the dragon saw that he had been cast to earth. He persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle that she might fly into the wilderness to her place. So the woman was in position, but not in position because the woman thought she had lost her seed. And when you think that you've lost your seed, you don't stay in position anymore.
That's a word.
Because you don't think you have anything worth fighting for anymore.
Yes.
There's some women in this room who got out of position because they felt like they lost their opportunity and they lost their chance. But as I've been preaching, they've decided that they want to get back in position, just like this woman. They've decided that I want to give this thing another shot. I want to try and figure out where my place is again. I found it interesting as I was reading. It says the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle that she might fly into the wilderness to her place. First of all, that's so good to me. Because the moment that the woman decided to start moving back in the direction of the place that God had for her, God gave her wings. That means that she's going to get there faster than she could have gotten had she had to do it in her own strength. That's why that's a good word for you and a good word for me, because it says when I am out of position, but I turn my face back to where I am supposed to be, that God will accelerate my time and He will accelerate my footsteps. And all of a sudden, what the enemy meant for evil, God is going to use it for good, because I would have had to walk back in position. But my God is so gracious. I wish I could have a praise band in here with my 5 church girls who understood the goodness of God. That someone's looking up at something they don't even deserve right now. Because God gave me wings when I should have been walking. God gave me wings when I should have been crawling. God gave me wings when I was like the lame man. He gave me wings so that I could get back in position faster. So God gives her these wings that she might fly into the wilderness to her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. The serpent that confused me, because when we start this text, it is a dragon.
Yes.
But suddenly, it has become a serpent. And the only thing that happened in between dragon and serpent was the woman receiving wings. And I wondered when God accelerated her path, if it slowed the path of the enemy down. Like maybe, just maybe, God took the wings of the dragon and says, you don't need that. I'm going to give it to the woman so that she can get back in position. Like maybe God took a teenage pregnancy and put it on the back of one woman and said, now woman evolve. Like maybe God took the divorce that some woman went through and produced a ministry. What if everything that the enemy thought he was chasing you with is what God is going to use to propel you into the next dimension of who you are? That's the kind of thing that'll make you say, come on, devil. not even, you're standing in the wind that the dragon was using to chase me, but that God decided to give me wings with instead. You're standing in it. You're standing in it. You're standing in a sudden rushing wind. You're standing in it. You're standing in it. You're standing in the promises of God. And I prayed. And I asked God, I said, God, what do you want to do in this room? And I heard God saying, there are wings waiting for women at this church. God said, it's not just a night in the wild. God says, there are wings waiting for them when they get in here. The kind of wings that make them soar out of here. The kind of wings that help them become confident again. The kind of wings that make them start producing again. There's wings waiting. That's why you had to be here. That's why you had to drive here. That's why you had to get the kids situated, because there are some wings waiting for you. There are some wings that still have your name on it. There are some promises. There's still a place for you. There's still a place for you. And my desire, in the few minutes we have left, is to help you understand the power of you getting back in position. The power that we receive when we set our mind towards a different direction. I feel like it's been a long time since someone actually set their mind. That I've kind of just been going with the flow and just doing what I gotta do every day. It's been a long time since I set my mind on who I'm gonna be and what I'm working towards. It's been a long time. I'm reacting to my life. I'm not being proactive, I'm being reactive. And I hear God saying it's time for you to be proactive about who you're gonna be. Because regeneration does not happen by coincidence, it takes intentionality. And if you are going to be restored from the traumas of life that we all experience, you are going to have to set your mind on who you are and how you're going to show up in the world. And it's going to take courage. And it's going to take vulnerability. And it is going to take the power of the Holy Ghost for you to resist the gravitational pull to go back to who you used to be. And to only set your mind on things above. What is above? Above is the version of me that God had in mind when He formed me in my mother's womb. I'm curious about her. God, why me? God, why did you sanctify me? Why did you ordain me? Why did you set me apart? Why couldn't I fit in? God, I'm curious about what you formed in my mother's womb. I want to know her. I want to have her confidence. I want to have her strength. I want to have her anointing. I want to have her authority. I don't want to just be me. I tried that. Just being me landed me in some things that I didn't even like when it was all said and done. Being me really set me back a few years. I don't want to just be me anymore. I want to be what you see. Because when I become what you see, I become things that I could have never imagined I would be. This is not who I thought I was. This is what God saw. So I asked my husband, he said, what can I pray for you before you go out? I said, just pray that I would die to me, so that I can be one with who He sees in this moment. So maybe before we respond to something, we got to say, God, what would that version of me say in this moment? What would that version of me believe in this moment? Because that's how I want to show up in the world. And when we do that repeatedly, over and over again, we become loving and forgiving and powerful and ambitious. we become wild women. In a crazy world that is determined to make us competition, we celebrate one another. In a world that is determined to make us believe that there is no place for a woman in a boardroom, we become business owners. I ask myself, I'm like, why, God, of all the places in the world where you could create a place for this woman to be nourished, why did you choose the wilderness? The wilderness is an uncultivated, inhospitable place. But it was ordained to be the place that would nourish her. That means it may have been uncultivated and inhospitable for someone else, but that didn't have anything to do with where God was placing her. And sometimes you will look at the wilderness and you will not see a place for yourself. But I hear God saying the place will not show up until you step into it. And when you step into it, you will see that there was room all along, because the grace that I have for you is meant to stretch that wilderness out and make it the place that will nourish you. All of this begins with the realization of knowing that you're soil and being protective over that soil. And only allowing things that can actually get you closer to that reflection to live in your soil. I want to pray with you. You're here. You're in this room. I don't care where you are. I want you to get as close as you can to the altar. If you know that you need